I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're with good health, prosperity, a strong mindset, and healthy vision for the future. One thing I want to talk about is perspective. There's a course that is given by Yale University. It's an online course called The Science of Well-Being. And basically, in the course, they break down what actually causes people to feel happy long term versus what they expect to make them happy and doesn't. And it's really interesting because they talk about how happiness, feeling happy and being like, yeah, I'm in a good mood. That's like the lowest form of happiness. And the things that we think will make us happy, stuff like a higher income, finding true love, having success in school or career, or having material items, don't actually make us as happy as we believe they will. So a couple examples in the income aspect is they found that people who make $30,000 a year, they think that if they make $50,000 a year, that they're going to be happier. And the people who make $100,000 a year believe that if they make $250,000 a year, they would be happier. But you have to understand, the people making 100K are making way more than people making 30K, right? And those are the same kind of perspectives. So they found that the average US income, and this is a study that came out a few years ago, so I don't know what it is now with inflation and everything, but they found that once you hit around 75,000 US per year, your baseline happiness kind of plateaus, it levels off. Money only makes you happier when you're going from a state of having your basic needs unmet to your basic needs being met. So if you're in a poor country and you're not making any money and you start making some money and now you have access to the basics like shelter, clean water, good food, now you get happier. But if you're in a developed country and you have those things already, going from making a certain amount to slightly more doesn't really change your happiness that much, which is interesting. They also found that true love, people are happier in new relationships for about 2 years, even people who are married. So the honeymoon phase peaks up, and then after that phase ends, they go back to the same level of happiness as people who are unmarried. And in the other context of the materialistic goods, people predict that if they have stuff, they're going to be happier with certain things like a car or a nice house or whatever, or a watch. And then they get those things and their happiness peaks a little and then it comes back down. So basically, happiness isn't about the external variables that come into your life. It's about your perspective on what you have. I know, like, a lot of these videos, I feel like Vietnam has really changed my perspective on things. I feel like I have Vietnam stories and I should get into them. Like, oh, Michael, why don't you tell us some stories about that time where you were walking home from the gym and some random guy pulled up on you on his motorbike and offered to give you a massage. Like, that happened. I have stories like that. Don't worry, they'll come eventually. But right now, we're talking philosophy, okay? So the real issue is figuring out your perspective on life. A lot of the problems that we have, we highlight. So I think there's a big difference between being delusional and acting like your problems don't exist and being aware of the problems that you have. So when you look at like something like money problems, right? If you're a working person, if you have a job or you're employed, most of the time, money problems get resolved in a longer stretch, right? So you got to work first and then you can get your paycheck later. Now, what can happen is that we start to look ahead at the problem And when you look too far ahead, you miss out on what's right in front of you. So you're thinking, oh man, I got all these issues I gotta deal with. This is gonna come up. I gotta pay for this. I gotta pay for that. But when you change your perspective and you realize, like, you have a roof over your head, you have food in the fridge, you have the opportunity to actually earn the income that you want to get to save for your situation, it changes how you maneuver yourself. And what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's about looking at what you're taking for granted versus what's holding you back. Your problems will always change. You'll always have some kind of obstacle that you have to deal with. But if you manage your perspective and you regulate your mind, because this is where it starts. It all starts up here in your head. If you regulate your thoughts and the way that you interpret certain things, you can decide how happy or how miserable they make you, right? Sometimes you're put in the same situation over and over and over and over again in your life because you're not learning the lesson that you're supposed to from the situation. So that's why you're being tested in this way, right? But that's the main key point I wanted to bring up. Your perspective matters a lot, and being grateful for the things that you have helps you to temper the negative aspects of the things that you don't. And it's not to say that you need to ignore your problems and only think positive, but it is to say that there's two sides to the same coin. So nothing is always all bad and nothing is always all good. It's about having a tempered expectation and managing your perspective on situations. So watch this video, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.